Yo, good evening. So, you're welcome to this evening's broadcast. And in the morning, what I did was I just, I went over some pairs, and that was actually my outlook for when the market opens. So, this evening, I'll be doing, in the morning, I did Bitcoin, USD, and some of that is already, playing out. So, I did Bitcoin USD, I did Euro USD, I also did GBP USD. All right, so I'm just going to show you what my chart says. Um, so I'll just share my screen right now, and I think I should just type. So yeah, for Bitcoin, from wow, nice. So this is what happened. In the morning, we're somewhere around. Okay, so in the morning, this is wild. This is so wild. In the morning, we're somewhere around here. I think we're okay. We're here in the morning. At the time I did the morning analysis, so price was around here. Okay, before price came down, and I had been looking at this um spending order here, but I felt I was not tagged in because of the spread on my broker. So it didn't cover the spread. Price didn't cover the spread, so I missed this trade. Okay, but even if I had taken the trade, I wouldn't have held it all the way to the top because I was expecting price to drop from around here. Was it here or here? I think around here, and price failed to do that. So price kept rising and rising. So I missed this trade and I lost another trade on this area. Okay, but this is what price was doing. So price just rallied all the way to the top and then it's coming down. Liquidity once again. Liquidity sweep, liquidity sweep, liquidity sweep. But it's looking like a bullish structure because overall on the day on the H4, um on H4, price is still bullish, right? Price did this, failed to create a high. Low is still maintained until it's pushed up and closed here. It's closed, actually closed above structure, right? So it's still bullish, and this is just a retest for price to push upward, right? But I'll still be expecting price to come downward, take out this liquidity before going up. If it's going to break above, but most likely it's going to tap into liquidity and then take out this high again. So these are two good trades we could look forward to, right? And this is what they should be around. From this point it should be around um 300 and 300 631 6. Okay, so on a 0.05 that would be 300 and something dollars. Okay, so this is what Bitcoin is doing, and this just totally invalidates all the analysis we made in the morning. I mean, the market is very dynamic, so you have to always be going with the flow, right? You always have to be going with the flow. And yeah. So that's that for Bitcoin. The market will be opening in less than 3 hours. Okay, in less than 3 hours. So be watching out for that. And okay, so that's that about Bitcoin. Now, which other pair? I think I had some markups on UJ. UJ and GJ will always move the same, similar to each other, but we still just do some analysis on it. All right. So we have on the weekly, we have a common low, which price has been failing to take out all this time, right? And price kept making higher highs, so the structure is still bullish. Still bullish. At this point, price could still go all the way to the top, and continue the upward trend. Okay. But what we want to do is we want to just, knowing price is still bullish to an extent, we just want to catch a few moves. All right. So when you come down to the daily, see where we are on this. Um, we are at the, we got to a support area, right? And then we are looking to target the high because let me see if price even took out this low. Price didn't take out this low. So it's just right. Price didn't take out this low. So it's just liquidity. Took out this one here and left this one. So it's going up. So we know we are in a phase where price is supposed to push above this high, right? So let's break it down to the daily. See if we have any. Wow. So you're seeing bullish structure already on the daily. Bullish structure reacting off this level. Okay. And what are we expecting? Price took out this high, took out this high, retraced back into it, went up, took took out this high, right? But then when you look here, price had to react off this level and come back down into this demand. So it's in this demand and then it's reacting off it again. But this is on the daily. Let's go down to H4. We're going to find extra story. Okay, so this is all bullish right now. It's all bullish, but until price takes out this high, we can't be comfortable knowing that price is bullish, right? So price might just until price takes out this high, we're not even expecting price to pull back into the entire range because all what this is a single trend. So if you go up to the daily, you're seeing a single trend here, right? A single trend all the way to the top. Let me see what it looks like on the weekly. All right, so you can see this. It's a single trend, right? And on the weekly, however, you even have your high here. So it's a trend, it's an entire trend. So you want to wait for price to break structure before you expect a pullback. All right. That was the mistake I was even making with Bitcoin this morning because I took a few trades. Right. The structure was still bullish and I would have just gone with the bullish trend. Instead, I caught the falling knife. So this is the H4 and until the market opens, we can't really do much with currencies because we can't see it forming in real time. But this is just my trade idea around this. Price has to tap into liquidity. So there's a low here. Okay, a low. There is a demand zone here. Price could come into it, take out the low, tap into demand, go up to break structure. And then when it does that, you now expect a pullback. Okay, you now expect a pullback into this area, maybe targeting this low because of liquidity and inducement and all of that before price eventually goes up. So this is what we're expecting for um this is what we're expecting for UJ, right? So today's Sunday and I did a stream in the morning and obviously most people will be in church and I just wanted to put something out there. So since most people will be preparing for work tomorrow, I'm not going to stay on, you know, very long on this stream. So what I'll just do is I'll just quickly, briefly talk about the Bitcoin trade I took. And I'm also going to go over some psychology as well because that's the key. Psychology is actually key. It's key in trading. And it's the reason why people make it and others don't, right? So one, I'm just going to go over my trade today. I took I took this one. So from here, I missed a trade from this is a weekly. Let me go down to the H1. Right, price is still bullish, and just cause price was at an all-time high. Right, that's come down like this. I thought okay, price was eventually going to start coming like getting bearish. Right, that broken all these H4 structures because there are structures here on H4 more like changed character here. Okay. But price had not broken structure and price just reacted off this support, this demand. Price just reacted off this demand. This is the H4 demand. I think I have here. This H4 demand. So price had just reacted off it and then started going up, created a new low and it was supposed to just keep going up. Right. But I was too quick to get on this trade. And I was anticipating sales from here because I felt like price had printed, a lower high. But those are just weak highs because they failed to take out they failed so far to take out the low. All right. So this low remains strong. and that's why we are expecting price to come back down, tap into liquidity, and go up. Okay. So one thing about the market is that it's not about your ability to trade. It's not, in fact, your ability to make money in the market is not dependent on the ability to trade. Okay. It's strictly dependent on the ability to manage your emotions. How do I even zoom this out? Do I delete this? Do I open this? Okay. Okay. So it's all about your ability to manage emotions. And the ability to manage emotions now depends on the psychology, because what the market does is it's an emotional game, for people who are losing. It's an emotional game. So you come into the market with all your predispositions, your personality traits. Some people are not very patient, and then when you come onto the market, you're not very patient. So you want to quickly, stack in your orders and then make 2 million in a day, right? So this is how your psychology. This is how far your psychology goes when it comes to trading the market, and just so you're not in a place where your psychology takes advantage of you, you want to set rules in place, right? So that if you're not seeing those rules play out, you're not taking your trade. And that's when you want to become objective, because when you're emotional, obviously you don't think. People might say they think, but you actually don't. The science has shown that we don't think when we're emotional, and it's actually your emotional centers of your brain that takes over, and then your frontal cortex just like shuts down, and everything is all the resources are sent back to the emotional part of your brain. Because when you're in the face of danger, you want to react. You don't want to see a lion, and the first thing you're doing is thinking. You just want to flee or fight, right? Those are emotional reactions. So this is what has kept us alive for generations as we evolved into where we are currently. But we are no longer in the jungle anymore. We are now in a really, really safe space, and we don't get to be trained. We don't get to train our emotions as well. Most times we only get emotional like with our partners, with our bosses at work, and with friends and colleagues. But so because of that, we are actually deficient. We don't know how to really manage our emotions. And whenever an emotional trigger comes up, we just act on it. And that is what the market uses. Like it uses it to our disadvantage, right? Because when I have a trade set up and I want to make what $500 from this trade, and the trade has not played down into my point of interest, I don't wait, because I see the market acting really crazy and I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's time for the market to push up, maybe it's not even going to come down to my area. But I have reasons to believe that price has to come down to my area, right? And then I take that trade. And then when I do take that trade, the market now comes against me, puts me in heavy drawdown that makes me really, really anxious and worried, right? And sometimes you endure that drawdown for like a whole night, especially when you're trading in the night and there's not much volume. You endure that drawdown for a whole night, maybe a whole day, and at some point you just get tired. Maybe you just come back into profit and then you close the trade. Close the trade at maybe $10 profit. Or maybe even you just break even and then you close the trade and the market goes all the way to $500. And then you're like, "Yeah, you should have gotten on this." Just like beating yourself up all over again. And I actually had an experience like this sometime last year. So I had this trade I was on. This trade was running. It was a gold trade. I had been on the trade from like around 1 a.m. in the morning when the market opened. I had this entry and I entered. And I endured this drawdown, throughout the night, because I was up, I was analyzing, I was making sure, okay, I was not on the wrong side of the market. And I enjoyed this drawdown and I had to go to work the next day. So by 7, 8, 9, I was at work at this point, and my people started calling me for money because I had promised to send them something. They started asking me, calling me for money. So immediately I came back into profit. I think that was a $50 account, and I came back into profit. I think somewhere around $3, and I just wanted to just close the trade and just withdraw the money and just send them the money and just I actually wanted to send them from the profit I was going to make from that trade, and I had already been worn out. I was not even fit to even work that day. I was just tired. I was just exhausted, and that happened. And then I withdrew the money. Immediately I went out of the trade. In the next 30 minutes, gold pushed in my favor, and I would have made over $300, $200, $300 that day. And that was how I lost. loss. That was like my biggest loss, you know, um, that year. Like that was the time I would have really, really made it big, as of last year. So what am I trying to say? We let our emotions get the best of us, and that's why they tell you don't trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Because when you have when you funded your account with money you can't afford to lose, money you're supposed to use for something else, you're now emotionally tied to that money that you cannot even make objective decisions, you cannot make rational decisions. And that's why most people say they funded, the market is after them and all of that stuff. And you see people who keeps funding and funding and funding actually, let me tell you a story. Last year I invested the most in Forex. I invested I invested a whole lot in Forex. Now this is not me saying I invested a whole lot of money, but compared to what I was getting, I invested a huge percentage of that into Forex. And this was because I was I knew this was how I was going to like get this thing done. Okay. But the mistake I made was that's why they tell you your intention does not matter. Your intention does not matter all the time, right? You have to put in weight behind this intention. I stopped learning. I was funding for like a whole year. I kept funding, let's say for like um somewhere around 10 months. For 10 months, I was funding every month, funding every month, funding every month, funding every month. And I'll get into debt, fund, lose the money, repay back the debt, get into more debt, fund. That was the cycle I was going through. And I it was actually really painful. I was stressed, I was anxious, I was scared, and thinking about it now, if I was in that situation, I would have probably just left the market, okay, and then let my money accumulate, save up for when I was because I was going to work every morning, coming back in the evening, so I was not even finding enough time to sit down and trade. So I was just, I was just on this treadmill where I kept funding and funding and funding and making losses and funding and making losses. So it was crazy. But if I had I didn't even notice I was not learning. I was just doing the same things over and over and over and over again until when I had finished, that whole phase, like I was done with the job I was doing because it was just a 1 year thing. I sat down and realized, went over, the past few months and realized I had been doing the same thing. And just within that next 1 month, I learned a whole lot. That wasn't even like knew about liquidity concepts and all of that, and like how to actually practice these things in the market. And I figured more like I realized I had actually been shooting myself in the foot because if I had spent some time learning or investing some of that money into learning, I would have been better off basically. So from that point till like 9 months later, I was not trading. I was just studying and studying and studying. I was still trying to get other jobs and do other stuff. I just kept studying and studying and studying. And this is just to say that for the most part, it's not the knowledge you have. To an extent, it's the knowledge you have. That's why you have to keep learning. But it's actually your psychology. Because even after you've gotten this knowledge, you've not had experience in the market because you've not applied this knowledge, right? And then there's something about hacking your psychology. It has to do with you putting yourself in a situation and doing the opposite of what your mind is telling you to do. So if you get into the water for the first time and you can't swim, your first response is going to be struggle, right? Try to like find your way out of the water. But what is the safest thing for you to do is to calm down, right? Let your natural body's buoyancy to just let you float, right? But when you keep struggling, you just push yourself out of balance, and then your head is tilting into the water, your leg is tilting into the water, and you're just taking in so much water, right? So psychology plays a huge role in trading. Yes, I'm going to talk about this in the next week. Like, I think the next tomorrow or next tomorrow, I'm actually going to talk about all of this. But for the meantime, your psychology is your psychology is actually what is running, your trading. It's not even what you know that is running your trading. It's actually your psychology running your trading. So I would implore you, I would advise that while you're getting all of this knowledge, you should spend time with yourself. Like look back at things that the things that the events in your past that had influenced how you perceive situations, how you handle situations, how patient are you, how logical, how do you react under stress? How do you react when you're anxious? How do you react when you're triggered? You need to like spend time with yourself to look at all these triggers, all these emotional triggers. And that's why I say Forex is not only about making money, it's about knowing who you are and understanding why you do the things you do. Understanding the programs that are running your your life. And then if you can hack all of these things, or if you can understand, sit with yourself long enough to understand all of these things, you can now bring that into the forex market, and you're not going to be phased by when the market is acting crazy, because the market only acts crazy to push people into action in the market when it's not the right time for them to get into action. So basically, this is all I'm going to be saying this evening. And when the market opens, tomorrow's session, I'm going to now analyze, currency pairs, and then we'll just go from there. All right. So I'll see you guys. This is just 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute stream, and I hope I've been able to distill some information that's going to help us. All right. So for anyone watching this video, I have a TikTok account that has just about 225 followers, and I would love to take this stream to TikTok as well. All right, and for that I need 1,000 followers on TikTok. So um, I would appreciate it if you actually go on there and follow me. My name is the same name here, Mitukarito Jonah, and just follow me there so my followers increase and I can bring this stream to TikTok. All right, so I'll see you guys. Bye.